All right, guys, so we're back with another one. We picked this truck up. It's been sitting for about 10 years or so, maybe a little less than 10 years. My friend of mine built this in, well, not in high school, but just out of high school, probably 2012 it was built. It was, I believe it was wrecked in 2012 or 2011. It's 2005 6.0 powerstroke ZF6. It's got some goodies. Obviously, it's painted. I believe it's 2012, 2013 Camaro green. It's a pretty nice truck. We'll do a quick walk around. I'm going to get the skid steer and put it inside. I just have to move my lowered truck. So yeah, let's do a quick walk around on it. I'll show it to you guys. It's a pretty nice truck. It looks nice. It's got a little bit of rust. It's got some bad bed rails and a bad rocker panel, but otherwise it's pretty rust free and pretty solid. It's got low miles. It's dirty right now, but it actually does clean up good. And it's got brand new Ford bedsides on it. I believe it's got new fenders and doors. It's right full of mold in here, but it says it's a ZF6. And someone put power leather seats in it. Came with the factory wheels. It's a pretty cool truck. I can put bed rails in it or put a flatbed on it. So I'm going to go ahead and get it inside. And maybe we'll go over it real quick and just see if we can get it running for the first time in almost a decade. Stick around, we'll be right back. All right, so we're back. I got it inside. Pushed it in with a skid steer. I got some used batteries that I have laying around at work that are probably no good. But let's take a little look. See what's going on in here. So, this is a 6.0 powerstroke. Believed to be 150,000 miles. The title I says 80, I think, when he bought it. So we got some old batteries and some acorns. Your K&N intake. Well, why don't you guys just come in here and take a look? Come on over here. So, the K&N intake, everything else looks pretty standard other than the paint match, which I believe that's all factory components. I don't know if it's got any aftermarket turbo or anything. I know it has a tuned computer inside. There was something going on with the truck and the computer was changed. But there's another one inside. He did say the reason he stopped driving it, and I don't know what year that was, but almost a decade ago, it was pressurizing the coolant system and had no heat. And it does not have an EGR anymore. So I'm guessing that it needs head gaskets, which I don't care. It hasn't had head gaskets. So I'll do head gaskets. I was Ford Master Tech back in 2013, 2014. I've literally done everything there is to do on a 6.0 powerstroke, which is why I like them. A lot of people don't, and that's fine. You know, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but these things are really tough. And it's what I prefer. I have, you might have seen it in the original opening of the video. I have a dually 04 King Ranch, and that thing will literally tow anything I put behind it. But it is studded and deleted and bulletproof. So I think what we're gonna do is switch the batteries. I already got one on a charger right down here where you can't see. I think we're gonna switch the batteries, get the charger on the batteries, then we will check the fluids and I guess see if it'll crank and see if it'll run. I'll probably film switching the batteries and just fast forward it. It's pretty boring. But yeah, so we'll start with that. All right, so we got batteries. We will start checking fluids. Like I said, he had said the coolant system was pressurizing, so I don't have many hopes that it's full. I do know the brake fluid's full, so maybe we have brakes. And we have no coolant. Not even a drop. We have a 6-speed, so we don't need to check transmission fluid, but one thing to know about a ZF6 is that it has training cooler lines and they rot out. And it will dump all the fluid out and you'll basically be screwed. The ZF6 will not make it long with no oil. So speaking of oil, let's see if the oil pan's rotted out. The easiest way to check that is if there's any oil in it at all. As you can see, if the camera's going to focus, there's plenty of oil. It's not spreading out on my finger. So, and it doesn't taste like there's any fuel in it. So that's good. He did mention that it probably needs injectors. One went bad. I feel like 150,000 is a little early, but depends on how it's taken care of for mileage. So the batteries have been hooked up for, I don't know, a couple minutes now. I don't have any weird smells or anything. I think we'll go on the inside and turn the key on. When I hooked the battery charger on it, the key was on and it started making noises, so I'm guessing that works. The ignition works and all that, but I'm gonna unplug you guys and bring you inside. All right. Well, sounds like we got power, but I see one problem already. It doesn't have the original computer in it. There's no mileage. Like I said, this thing is full. Let's stop that for a second. This thing is full of mold, which worries me about the cluster being good, the radio being good, and this thing actually has subs behind the seat. I don't know if you can see them, but big old sub box back there, which I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", probably not going to be able to run a sub box back there. So let's turn the key on and see what happens. So it sounds like we don't have enough power. The fuel pump's struggling right here. let me get a jump pack on it and we'll try this again. So I'm actually going to try to start it from outside the truck. I'll show you about that in a minute. The mileage is working now. It's 155, 576, I think. And I do have a good all jump pack. This, I swear, is the best jump pack I've ever used. We'll let the air pump stop here in a second. This is going to time out maybe a couple times before we get anything done. But I would like to build some fuel pressure up to the top and run the injectors a few times. Every time you turn the key on a 6.0 power stroke, it runs the injectors for 10 seconds. The fuel pump does not sound good. Oh, some of the injectors are coming into it though. We'll just see if it cranks over. Take it out of reverse. So the injectors seem to run pretty well. They don't sound great, but it's also got a good amount of miles and it's been sitting and it's super cold. I had to wait a few days to do this because it's been so cold. I think we'll try to crank it just to see what happens. A lot of people don't know that Fords have this wire that goes straight to the starter. And if you actually put it on the terminal, it sticks out enough to crank it over. Lots of people do this, it's no problem. Just let the jump pack ready up. Pretty dead. It does turn over though. Alright. So these batteries aren't the greatest. I'm going to put my other jump pack on it too. And the jump pack's at 70%, which is convenient. This is the second best jump pack I've ever used. These are really reliable. This one is 4 years old. Never really had an issue with it other than the batteries getting pretty weak one time. But I charge that just by running the vehicle with it hooked up. Probably not the preferred method, but all right, let's see if it cranks in. see if this thing cranks. Fuel pump definitely doesn't sound good. Looks like we got mess coming out of the transmission bell housing, which isn't good either. Let the batteries charge back up for a second and come back. Alright, so I went out and I grabbed the batteries out of my other powerstroke because apparently all the jump packs are dead. All the batteries are dead in here, so. It is building oil pressure. I can hear that. In the engine, it's just starting to. When they sit for a long time, it sometimes takes a while. I'm just going to verify on the gauge. Definitely got oil pressure. So we'll get a little bit extra working here for us. But it just started to build oil pressure. So we are probably going to need a little bit more. And again, like I said, it's cold here. It's been in the single digits for weeks. So I didn't expect this truck to just crank right over, you know. It's going to be tough. It is much easier to get one of these running after sitting when it's summertime. So we'll do our best. Hopefully it's not a 14-hour long video of getting this thing running. Then hopefully it actually runs too. Obviously. It is drawing a lot of power. And you could tell now that it's picking up that cold oil because it cranks real fast, and as soon as it starts to pick up the thick cold oil, it roars. So I'm gonna let this whole setup just, you know, stew here a little bit, charge up, and I got some stuff to do, and we'll come back in a couple hours. Alrighty? So we're definitely getting there. As soon as we get high pressure oil, the injectors sound like they're firing. I think we're gonna be really good after that. Alright, so stick with us and we'll be back. The fuel pump doesn't sound good, but I did make sure that it's pumping fuel. We'll give it a try here. I think the glow plugs are off. That's a good sign. It's firing on some cylinders. I'm going to run the glow plugs again and the injectors again. Just takes a long time to build oil pressure after sitting that long. I was surprised I didn't have to prime the low pressure pump. It is smoking fiercely out the tailpipe, so we ought to open this garage door, I feel like. I am going to run the glow plugs one more time and the injectors again. Man, that fuel pump does not sound good. And I can hear that a few of the injectors are not firing, but we'll see. We're going to add a jump pack to this thing just to keep it spinning fast. The only thing I don't like about these good all Stardals is they take forever to charge up. All right, we're going to go again. Come on, old girl. Oh, the fuel pump sounds better. That's weird. Fuel pump actually sounds normal now. The injectors are getting louder. Come on. Whew. Do it one more time. That fuel pump just comes and goes. So that'll be a $300 expense. Oh, there it goes. We're gonna get it this time. It is smoking, I'm sure you can tell. Gonna have to let that starter cool down a little. It's right there. I can hear that it's probably missing 2 or 3 injectors right now. After sitting this long, it's gonna need some type of treatment. Probably, well, I don't really know what the best treatment is for a 6-liter. I've tried a few. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I guess it just depends on the injectors. Maybe we'll try it one more time with both jump packs on it. I just don't want the starter to get too hot. Cranking it with low batteries. I believe it's got a 6.4 starter in it already, which helps, but we're close. We gotta charge the batteries back up again, but we're close. And if it's firing like that, it's gonna run, whether it's got a couple dead injectors or not. So we'll keep at it with the chargers and see how it goes. It's another day. It's even colder today, so I guess we'll see what happens. Probably gonna run the glow plugs twice. one more time. Seems to have plenty of fuel, I think. Come on. You can do it this time. That is the best we've seen. That is freaking awesome. It's smoky in here, to say the least. We were one more dry, I suppose. No. I think I'm gonna run the injectors a few times by the key. It seems like we're picking up and losing injectors, really. Actually, the injectors sound pretty good. This is the best they've sounded, so maybe we're getting somewhere. I wish I could clear the smoke out. Hopefully you guys can see something. doesn't sound good. There's a huge nest in the clutch, it sounds like. But it's running. Definitely not running on all the cylinders, for sure. On because I always unhook the brake switches in these things on the master cylinder because they're known to cause fires. So when they're in the garage, I always unhook them. I don't know if that prevents the fire issue, but we had so many of these when I worked at Ford that caught fire, it's not even funny. Some fuel treatment in there. I think I might take a look on the shelf and see if I have some more. And probably put some seafoam in the oil for the injectors. But I'm gonna let this thing run for a little while and warm up. And I'll bring you guys back in a few. I'm gonna back it up a little bit. Outdoors so you guys can see something. But yeah, there we go. Finally started. Alright, it's been running for about 20-30 minutes. Went in the house, had some breakfast. So, it's definitely got a skip. It's got some injectors that aren't working. But definitely injectors and not any other issue. No pressure in the cooling system yet. Starting to come up to temp. The heat definitely doesn't feel like it's working. This thing, the transmission or the bell housing was right full of chipmunk squirrel nests or something. But it backed up, the clutch works, it runs good. I'm gonna let it run for a while. Be ready for the day and stuff. Just let it, kind of get some heat back in those injectors and see what happens. Runs pretty good. Alright, so it's a few days later. Last video, I think I left you guys with it idling in the garage. Not long after I shut the camera off, it blew the lower tank off the radiator. The radiator's real corroded at the bottom. I've actually never seen that on a 6-liter. Usually break the top tank from head gasket pressure. So yeah, I dumped all the coolant out in the garage, and basically I backed it over here, and it did move around the driveway on its own and drove over here. I'm gonna get a radiator for it. Maybe we'll do a video on putting the radiator in and taking it for its first drive. But I think maybe it needs a fuel pump too, so I'm gonna do a little more diagnostics on it. Maybe get a bunch of parts together and we'll go after it, and we'll do a video on the first drive in almost a decade. And then we're pulling the bed off this thing. We're gonna put bed rails in it, rocker panel on this side, and we're gonna go right through it. It's gonna get a 6-inch lift, probably some 35 on 20 by 12s or something, 22 by 12s, 22 by 14s. I don't know. Well, what would you guys like to see me do with this thing? Leave some comments, let me know. It's not a bad truck. It's a little rusty, but it's way better than all the other Super Duties in New England. So that's going to be it for this video. I would have liked to put in it driving and all that, but by the time I got it over here, it's out of the garage even. It was hot. So, but we'll be back with it in a week or two, maybe 3. Thanks, guys.